Welcome to another episode of Toro Podcast. Our guest today is Pierro. How are you, man?
Good, man. Always good to be here. Enjoy talking to Jose and just chopping it up. I always miss Roger, but I'm sure we'll get by without him. I would say I'm probably a good replacement for Roger if you're looking for someone. I can't really help you on the workout front, but
Yeah, I had
definitely
to
help
work
you out
out
with the
by myself
podcast.
today.
Well, it's leg day, so I get why he would nope out. His legs are weak, real weak. They got to hold up all that hot air going on up there.
He's a big guy.
He
And,
is a
and,
big guy,
and
Viking sized, I like to
Viking
say.
size, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, for a second there, and it might still happen, but I was thinking of naming the podcast the Toro and the Viking. That's a pretty
you
cool
know,
one.
it's very fitting. It's very fitting for sure,
But if
for
he's
sure.
gonna like wimp out and give in to some little cough and not come into the
Oh,
podcast, then
oh, wait, hold on. I was gonna ask you why he's not. I'm literally sick right now, so this is the second time in like 3 weeks that I picked something up. Dude, my throat is killing me right now, and
yeah,
I'm
mine
I'm
too.
here. Yeah, I mean, I his man card should be revoked for
His Viking
sure.
card, Vikings
His
would have
Viking
fought.
card, right? I mean, yeah, that's just a pitiful excuse right now. Oh, so that's all right. So I get it now. So he's doing the whole sick thing. He's firing up Eldon. I was talking to him a little bit, so he's starting that. I get it. I get it. It's an excuse. He wants some alone time. I get it.
Yeah, he wasn't here last week. He was in Virginia. You know, I was in
Yeah,
Vegas, so it made it a little bit hard to get a podcast going
yeah. I'm sad. I wish I would have taken our boss up on that offer
to
to
go
head
to
out
Vegas.
there. Yeah, yeah.
It was
It's
fun, but here's the thing that so
a lot,
I
a
do
lot of info.
Instagram, right? So on
Yeah.
Instagram, yeah, you see the dinners. We went to see this, we went to see that, right? Like, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, you went to have so much fun!" But that's like an hour or two, right? The rest of the time, you wake up at 5 a.m. because one, we're 3 a.m. 3 hours, behind, right? Like so,
Right, right.
so therefore you're waking up earlier. Everybody's already started with their day here, so you're trying to catch up on emails, trying to work, before the conference start. Then you go have a quick breakfast, and it's just information overload all day, all day.
That's what I was gonna say. A lot of it is information overload, and they got to come up with a good way to digest it, which is a lot of times why I end up opting to just do the virtual sessions
Hmm.
because I can do it whenever I want. I can come back to the recordings, watch it, right? Because to your point, you're going from one session to the next, and how do you offload all that good info that you're getting? And then sometimes the talks, you think it's going to be one thing, and then you go
Oh
into it,
yeah,
and it's
one
very
hundred percent.
like very like topical. It doesn't really do like the really technical deep dive, right? So they should be more clear about some of those sessions because I've started a bunch of them, and then just after about 15 minutes, I'm like, oh, it's going to be all slideware and
Yeah. So
salesy
to be
type.
clear
Yeah,
for the audience, I went to a conference for Power Play, so I don't want to get too technical into these kind of things,
yeah,
but I'm just saying, like for the non people who've never been to a conference or anything like that, like my mom or like people like that, I'm like, they're like, oh my god, you had so much fun, and it's like, yeah, but no. It's like,
it's
yeah,
work.
it's
It's work.
work, and I very much appreciate that part. Like, basically, on the career aspect, on the work aspect, I'm like
Yeah,
super excited about it. But you know, they're not gonna understand that, right?
no,
Like, they're
no,
not gonna understand why you had fun.
right, right,
But
right,
like,
right.
because I'm nerdy like that. But at the same time, like they're like, oh my god, you got, yeah, we got to go to some cool restaurants and all this stuff. But that's like an hour of the day. The rest is just like information after information, and then you're hanging out with people and you're talking about the information you just talked about, and then you're trying to catch up back on work because yeah, you're out of work, but you're
Yeah,
really, you still have to do. And we had a huge, deployment that night. Like, so I had to do it from the hotel room. and then it's
Uh,
like hours and hours. It's just like nonstop, work stuff.
yeah.
And
And the time difference is no joke, right? It definitely, to your point, you're already what, like 3 hours 3 hours behind, right?
yeah,
So that's tough for
it is.
sure.
It is
It's a
tough.
long day. And it takes a day or two to just kind of get used to, you're in a different time zone, right? It's getting early sooner, it's getting darker sooner, right? So,
Well,
yeah.
I'm I usually wake up
Later.
5 a.m. here too, right? But
Yeah.
I found that if I fast for like 24 hours before a flight or after a flight, I usually get a good rhythm to my body of like
Yeah.
getting used to a time zone.
Yeah.
Three hours is not that bad. So I was
No,
still
ditto.
waking up 5 a.m.
Oh,
No
you're
matter
still
what.
getting up at 5.
I was
Oh,
still
that's
getting
good.
up at 5. So yeah, like the fasting really helps me.
Yeah. I'm surprised to hear someone else that gets it. There's very few people that I talk to that are like, yeah, I'm up at 5, because everyone else I talk to are like, why? And I'm like, look, I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but that I same thing. I'm up at like 4:45, 5 a.m. every day, like clockwork. I get up, I get my coffee, but that is my like quiet time to just kind of focus on whatever I want to do,
So
right?
good.
The house is quiet, nobody's
So good.
bouncing around. It's for me, it's the perfect time. There's no other time like that.
And I'll
And
tell you when I found that out. When my wife went to a conference actually one time
yeah.
to Seattle, and and I was getting up trying to get the kids ready for school and all that stuff,
Oh,
and then
brutal.
like one day I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna wake up earlier and I'm gonna have my
Try.
coffee by myself and really just kind of relax and get everything ready. So by the time the kids get up, I can just like basically, you know,
Yeah.
rush them
Well,
out, you know?
I don't know about you, but what I figured out is from about 6 a.m. till about 11 a.m. is like when I'm on fire.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I'm firing on all cylinders. As the day goes on, it starts to diminish drastic. Like after
Oh,
about
yeah.
2, 3, I start to get, by 6 o'clock. I am complete mush. I am just, and a lot of times, I get stuck on calls later. I'm like, look, guys, I'm just not going to add any value here. It's time for me
Yeah.
to go, But I would say I get the vast majority of like the hard stuff that I need to get done, the stuff that requires me to like really just heads down focus is in the morning time. And I've been doing, so I don't know if you listen to Huberman Labs at
Every,
all.
every once in a while. Not.
Yeah. So I ended up really get like, I like the hey, we can prove this with science kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So I was listening to it religiously. I've been bouncing around between different podcasts, but his whole, hey, you got to get up, you got to get light in your eyes first thing in the morning, because I had this thing where I was just, for whatever reason, I wasn't sleeping real well. I don't know why. But what he said was, you need to get up, you need, like, biologically, it's scientifically proven, we need light in our eyes first thing in the
Hmm.
morning. When you're working remotely, who's going to go outside, especially in the
Yeah.
winter time, right? Like standing outside like a dummy. People must think I'm crazy. My neighbors probably think I'm crazy, but I'm out there when the sun is coming up. I'm having my coffee. I'm just getting light in my eyes. And let me tell you, I sleep like a baby
Nice.
every single night now. So, yeah, for anyone who's listening, just give it a shot. I thought I said, let me just try it, right?
So
Like,
I've been
I'm
doing a
not going to
couple of
knock it.
things that he talks about a lot and preaches about.
Yeah.
One is the mouth tape. It's been 1 month now.
Oh, he came up with that, right?
He didn't come up with that, but he basically
He was
he
touting it
preaches
as,
about it. He
yeah, yeah,
basically
yeah.
I think one I read it, well, listened to on
Yeah.
the book Breath.
Oh,
It
okay.
is really good. It's all
Good.
about
Yeah.
breathing through your nose and all this stuff. So I've been doing that. It's great. I've been doing it for a month now. I can definitely say my sleep has been gotten a lot better.
What's the
Yep.
top five from that book? Like, if you were gonna say, hey, you don't have time to read the book, here's the top five things you should do.
Breathe through your nose.
That's it. So
Yeah.
just the top one. Just
It's
breathe
top
through your
one.
nose more.
Breathe through your nose. It change and then it really just dives deep into what can you do, how can you get about that, and what are the benefits of that. And one of them is like it changes your facial structure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, because it's like it really like pulls your facial like basically under the eyes and all this stuff.
Like where
Because
the
what
sinuses
happens
are.
is like when you breathe, your nasal like dialects, right? Like it becomes bigger
Hmm.
and really
Right.
exercises.
Right.
Whereas if you're breathing through your mouth, what you see is like you see like bags under the chin,
Really.
and then people who do that, like basically the breathing through your nose, they start getting better, where they start pulling this and really getting rid of the bags under the chin.
So how hard was it for you to consciously breathe through your nose more?
1 week, 1 week of the mouth
Yeah.
tape. It I went from waking up in the middle of the night and just be like, crap, I can't breathe, to think about, oh, I can breathe through my nose, and then went back to sleep. And I would wake up like that for
I
one
love
week.
it.
And then after that, it was just like I would wake up and I'm up. Like I'm not laying in bed. I'm not doing any of that.
I love it. I
And
love, so
and
you
you
think
feel
it's
more
helped your
rested.
sleep.
It
It's
helped
helped your
a
sleep.
100%. And then
That's incredible.
so now that it's been a month and I'm like, okay, great. I got that down. Let me introduce another thing. And I've been introducing the yoga nidra.
Tell me.
So
Talk. What is that?
yeah. So he talks about this too, Huberman, and
Hmm.
it's a way of sort of like guided meditation kind
Hmm.
of thing. So
Okay.
if you ever heard of that or done that,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. They have
So
sessions you can subscribe to. There's some free ones on YouTube, but yeah,
I
absolutely.
just go YouTube. Yeah,
Yeah.
just go
Yeah.
YouTube
They're
and
solid.
pull up like yoga nidra, and then you can do yoga nidra for relaxation, yoga nidra for sleep, different kinds, and it's really really good because it's like it's like relax your shoulders,
So you do
let,
that in the morning or like
I do
before
that
bed?
before sleep. Huberman talks about too, like if you didn't get a good night's sleep and you do
Hmm.
that for 30 minutes, you feel much rested too.
Yeah.
So there's different kinds, and so I'm like, okay, let me give that a try too.
Yeah.
So pop it in.
Have you tried, or maybe you haven't heard about it? I want to say I probably mentioned it maybe to you or Roger. I don't know. I try to tell everybody about it, but the psychological sigh, like where, so what you do is, so if you're ever feeling nervous or, you got anxiety
Hmm.
or, you see actually animals do this before they go to sleep, like your dog, if you have one, you might notice how he does it. So what they do is they breathe in through their nose, like, and then the second one is a quick, and what that does is it releases all the carbon dioxide that's in there. Do that 3 to 5 times, you will instantly feel your entire body just relax. So another scientific thing that was proven to lower your heart rate and just help you kind of relax. So anytime I'm in any kind of stressful situation, it's hard to kind of do and hide, but I do it a fair amount, and it works really, really
So
well.
breathing in rather than, because what
Well,
I've heard a lot of people
well, it's
like
it's
do.
also out, right? So
Yeah.
what you do is, so you do the first, right, and then the second one gets that last bit of air into your lungs, and then you slowly exhale for about 7 to 10 seconds. Do
Hmm.
that on repeat 3 times. But if you Google it, psychological sigh, it is a real thing, and a real tool that I actually use daily. So it helps me out just a
Because the
ton.
one that I use is
Mhm.
kind of the opposite. It's
Okay.
breathing out all the carbon monoxide. Because people think it's like when they're, especially like jujitsu or something, like
Oh yeah,
you're
yeah,
working
yeah.
out, whatever,
Hmm.
right? You're running out of breath, and you're thinking you need more air, so you're like, and
Right.
and then you're stuck in this kind of like like
Yeah.
almost anxiety
Which
of like
causes
trying,
you
yeah,
panic. Yeah.
right, panic and all the stuff. Where if you're doing that, then the opposite would be to let go of all the carbon monoxide and then start breathing in. So
Well,
it'd be
that
like,
that interesting. Well, so what that second deep breath is to do
yeah,
is to get that the rest of that carbon that you might not be able to
mm,
expel. That's what that second one is for. And like I said, if you look at like, again, I've seen my dog do this. Right. So right before they go to sleep, you hear him do that, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. They're calming themselves down for
Yeah,
sleep. So
breathing is pretty cool. Like,
wild, right?
yeah,
Yeah, that's why I was when you sent that book, I was like, I gotta get it on my
breath
list.
is
And
pretty cool.
yeah,
Yeah. The other one that I'm listening to right now and Think Again by is it Alex Grant? I think it is. But
oh, you read them or audio?
audiobook.
Yeah,
I
I'm the
try to
same
do
way.
an audiobook a month, you know.
Yeah. So, are you? Do you find it challenging to? So, technical books. If I'm reading anything technical, I want a paper copy. I want to be able to highlight. I want to be able to make notes. But when I'm listening to stuff like that, I feel like audio. I just digest it better. I feel like I have to read things multiple times for whatever reason, um, to take it in. I don't know. It,
Um I'm an
or is
audiobook
it just a
nerd
time thing?
because for me, one, it's time. Two, I'm a horrible
Yeah.
reader. Um,
Yeah.
Three is just the way that I'm gonna consume things. And another
Yeah.
thing, I don't do fiction. We talked about this on the podcast with Roger, but I don't do fiction. I do
Me
only
either.
like
Yeah.
real stuff.
I want to learn something.
I
Yeah.
want to learn something. I want to like it's just the way that I do
It's
because
it's 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 so I feel like people who do the fictional thing. It's they want they're looking to escape reality for a
I
little
just
bit. But
heard somebody say that too.
yeah,
I don't know if that's
I
true. But at the
no.
same time, yeah, like it's cool. I can enjoy a movie, like if it's Avengers, I don't think, yeah,
Oh, a
they're
movie.
really, like,
Yeah, movie. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
No.
creative and different side of the brains being, kind of, yeah,
Yeah, but you're right. I'm always trying to learn something new. Like I mean but I do have books. I mean, but books that I find that I read all like Marcus Aurelius, right? Meditations. I try to read that once a year to
meditations.
just kind of
Okay, yeah,
dude,
I got
so
the
good.
audiobook. I
Yeah.
haven't
Oh my
read.
god, so good. You know, did you read it yet? Even
No, no, no.
once?
I haven't. But I did download it, and it's on the list too. There's a couple on the list, like basically queued up for next. One is a finished Think Again. The other one is getting things done and meditation. Right.
Yeah. Do you have any good time boxing ones? Because that's one I'm really, really big into.
Oh, Checklist Manifesto is like my favorite book
That's
ever.
the one that I put out there for everybody.
I
All
love
right,
that
so
book.
really, really good, right? And you could
Really,
read
really
it
good.
in probably like 2 days. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a quick read.
it's a quick
Yeah.
one, and it's amazing. It really like creating checklists is like a thing now for me. Like,
And for anybody who's listening who has no idea what the heck we're talking about, so Checklist Manifesto, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a while since I read it, but this doctor was essentially able to reduce the amount of deaths in the operating room by, I think it was some crazy number, like 70%, just by implementing a simple checklist that
yeah,
the nurses and the doctors would go through.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, just phenomenal book
yeah.
if you can check it
I
out.
mean, he goes into examples of like what is fighter jets. Like basically,
Yes.
it's so complicated to fly this that they had to create a checklist. Another one is like delegating work to others.
Yep.
If you simply do a checklist of what they need to get done, you can
The
basically
five
take
killer items.
responsibility.
Yeah,
Right?
the five killer items, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are the killer steps that you can't miss
Mm-hmm.
to get this thing done? We use it for a lot of our
Oh,
processes,
100%. It is great. But yeah, like audiobooks and books in general. Like I was never a book person like growing up,
No?
and it's been probably like I would say 4 years
Yeah.
that I really started getting into more than that, probably like maybe 5 years that I really started getting into
Yeah.
consuming all
For
this.
for me, the reason I got into audiobooks was so when I worked for Vonage, right? I had on a good day an hour 45-minute commute. So I was knocking out almost two audiobooks a week. So yeah, that's yeah, because look, after a while you get sick of this, and again, this is going back probably 25 years now, right? Like you get sick of talk radio, and
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I'm not getting anything out of this. These people just annoy me at the end of the day, right? And you can only listen to so many different, back in the day, yes, we used to create CDs with playlists. We didn't have Spotify, right? All that
Yeah.
good stuff. But so yeah, what I would do is I would get, the audio books on tape, whatever you want to call it, right? And I would get them on the CDs and drop them in. And I tried to knock out, at least two a week. But I found it made my drive just way less painful for sure.
I, I I was always one to consume information. Like I love, watching educational stuff and everything.
Yeah,
But I was never one of like just, you know, reading a book or trying to be focused on what I want to learn. It was just like
yeah,
consuming information, podcasts and all that stuff for over 10 years now that I've been
yeah.
like listening, and then commuting on the train. I would listen to podcasts and everything.
There you go.
I remember back in the day, I used to listen to Security Now. If you ever
Oh,
heard
that was a
that,
good
that
one.
was a
Yeah,
really good one.
Stormcast was that
Mm,
is that in there too?
I don't know, but Security Nine was Security Now is who's the guy? Um, I think his name is George or something like that. But anyway, really,
We
really,
we should share a list of
yeah,
podcasts because I
yeah.
feel like our all of our interests are kind of like
Oh yeah,
really close.
hundred
Like
percent.
I always joke with Roger that our algos are like exactly the same. He'll send me a video. I'm like, yeah, I saw this yesterday. Thank you.
Yeah,
But yeah, we should share a list because I got some really good podcasts. Because yeah, ditto. I love learning new things. Like who on Sunday spends time like trying to build an application or learning Python or like not most people. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna go
yeah,
hiking or fly my drone or whatever, right?
yeah.
But no, here I am playing around with ChatGPT and some of the new features. Do you have the pro version? Do you use
No,
it?
no, I don't.
No.
I use ChatGPT, but not the pro version.
So the pro version, they just added a whole bunch of new features. So now they added voice. They baked Dolly 3 into it. They baked the Bing chat into it, which I'm still on the fence about. Not a huge fan, um, but yeah, I could go down a rabbit hole with it, so I won't. But what else you got on the list? Did you have
Oh,
anything
here's a good one,
specific?
which another one I think probably
Yeah.
Huberman said, but I do jaw exercises.
Uh, yep.
You do
You
them?
always see me chewing gum. You always see
Okay,
me chewing
chewing
gum.
gum.
But
But
no, I don't do the actual
I
jaw
have the
exercises.
things,
You
and,
bought it.
yeah,
Okay.
give me 1 second. Let me show you.
Yeah, yeah, go for it. Go for it. And that's why, got the crisp jawline there.
Yeah, no, seriously, it's
Yeah.
been 2 3 months now, and
Yeah.
it's basically like a little rubber thing. You put them in your mouth,
Wow. All that. Just
and
how
yeah,
long do you have to do it for?
I 16 20 reps, three sets. But it's
So
just
you're
like
spending like maybe 30 minutes a day
not
with
even,
that. Not even. Love it.
not
It
even. It's
feels like a
it's
good
like you
stress
wake, come
release.
in, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But you come in, you check your mail or whatever, pop it in,
Yeah.
do that. Then
Yeah, I
another
love it.
time through the day, I just put it next to my desk, so I just have it always
It's a good
available.
reminder, right?
Yeah,
Good reminder.
but
Maybe
it's
maybe I'll
another
pick one of
thing
those up.
that it changes your face structures. You
Really?
know, like I have
Yeah.
gotten seriously so many compliments of people saying, "You look skinnier," and I track my weight, and I'm like,
Really?
"Nope, I'm the same weight."
Wow. All right, you convinced me. I'm gonna
Yeah,
buy one. I'm gonna buy
jaw
one.
sizers.
Jaw sizers. All
Yeah,
right, we'll check it out. Very cool.
yeah, but yeah, like that's another one that also helps pull the muscles and get the
Yeah,
breathing right. It's not just for looks.
yeah. You know, I don't know. Are you able to communicate with any of the people that listen to the podcast? Like, is there any way? Like, do you get email addresses? So, and here's the reason I'm asking. I would love to know, like, if they could submit some potential office pranks, right? That I could get Roger with, because right now I'm formulating a list, right? I could share a couple of my ideas, but here's where I'm kind of running into issues is I don't want to impact this productivity either, right? And some of them are bordering on like, all right, this could really cause them major issues and make them lose productivity. So I'm trying to like toe the line there of what's acceptable versus not. Um, so I would love to if you would be able to do that. I'd love to get some feedback there
We
from
gotta come up
folks.
with like a hashtag, and then have people submit it on.
I that would be great. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Yeah.
Then we can get
Um,
ChatGPT to pull all
team
those.
Team Piero. I mean, look,
Team
and
Piero, Team Roger, right? Like that. That's oh yeah, that's it. Hashtag Team Piero,
yep,
Pierro.
RO. You got it. Yeah. So we got to get that going. That would be awesome. And look, I will really put these into practice. If you send us a good one, I will get it out there.
Well, now we found
Potentially
out
that you,
we got a listener in Brussels, right? Those
yes,
stats
that was
were
very
awesome.
interesting.
Those
Yeah,
stats
very.
were
I,
pretty cool. Like to see where all the downloads are coming from. It's a new podcast. Like this is our what eighth episode. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and
I'm a data nerd. I love stuff like that. I
I love
love being
data.
able to see
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So does it actually give you metrics on, how long people like if they cut
Yeah,
out
yeah. How
like
many
midway?
minutes it was
Very
listened
cool.
to and all that. You know, I don't
Yeah.
know. I think you can go deeper into each episode. You know how long people listen to and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
Love it.
I try to keep these to an hour.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a good kind of.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, you know what though? I don't know. I have certain podcasts that go 3-4
Oh
hours
yeah,
that
Rogan. I mean, like of course, right? But
easily.
that with me and like the way that I listen to Rogan is like multiple days of like I would say 3 days at least per podcast.
Yeah. It depends. It depends on the guest if they, if it reels me in or not. But I find myself, I don't know if you do this, but I'll put it on like 1.5 speed and just power through it. Like you'd be surprised how much time you can cut out of those podcasts. Again, it's for those people that talk really, really slowly.
I've
It
done it
drives
with
me
like
crazy.
when Elon Musk was on or something
Yeah.
like that, where
Yeah.
he's like
Yeah.
very
Very slow.
slow in
Yeah.
talking. And I'm like, yeah, 1.5 speed.
Yeah. Does he still have that? So he had the camera on the Roadster that he launched into outer.
Yeah,
Is that still a? I found myself googling it this morning. I don't know that I got an answer. Like, is that webcam stream still live?
I have no idea,
Yeah, I gotta check into that and see if it's
but I would imagine like it takes longer and longer to get that data back, right? Like
right,
the further it goes.
right. I would love to see that though. Love to check on it, just see how it's going. Um, Very cool. But yeah, no, I'm gonna put together a list of the pod. Matter of fact, I was talking to someone else about this because someone else mentioned like, oh, I'm not really big into podcasts. I was like, really? Why? Um, I learned so many new things. I'm honestly blown away that I can get all this amazing knowledge for free.
Yeah.
Like I learned all these crazy things that, 25 years ago wouldn't even have been possible,
Oh yeah.
wouldn't have even had access to these people.
Yeah.
So people that don't take advantage of it just blows me
I
away.
remember when who was it? Stanford started streaming their classes,
Yes.
and I'm like, wow, I can basically take a class in Stanford, like pretty much.
Penn State does it too.
Yeah,
That one
I
professor. Yeah.
remember when that was happening. I'm like, holy crap! At one time, I was like watching some like what was it, like finite math or some math class or something like that, and my wife goes like, "What are you
What are you
doing?"
doing?
And I'm
Yeah.
like, "It's a class in Stanford." Like,
Right. Some of them will even give you like a certificate of completion, right? Like you can actually, yeah, very
yeah,
cool stuff.
yeah, it is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Now,
I think education overall needs an overhaul, and I think that there's people out that are looking to change that and make it way more affordable. Because to get out of school with like $150,000 in debt is not a good way to start your life.
dude, it's not.
It's rough. I just finished paying off loans. It's not a good way.
Overkill, but like the topic about basically it's like you're it's predators to these kids who have
Yeah.
no knowledge of what that means.
No, they're just signing off because they want, they want that piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
They want the knowledge. And yeah, if you don't read the fine print on some of those, it's
Well, not just that. It's like I get it. You're going for doctor, lawyer. You need that, right?
you do. Yeah.
And your potential on paying that back is high, right? Especially if
Yeah.
you don't get lifestyle creep and all the stuff of earning
Right.
400
Yes.
grand and you pay it off in like 2-3 years, right? After
Right.
that, but just you know the amount of education, quote unquote, right? That some of these kids are going for. I hear people who are going right now. Their kids are going to school, and I'm
Hmm.
just like, oof.
Well,
Like I don't want to
also,
get in there, but like it's like, like really, what are they gonna do with that?
the other piece of that is, think about the professions that will potentially go away and be replaced by AI, right? And again, I'm not
I
saying that.
have a hard time believing that, right? Like
Yeah.
there was a stat that they shared at the conference, like 70% of people, think that oh no, 40% of people think that the AI is going to replace their jobs, and 70% of people use AI for like basically to help their jobs, right? And so there's a 10% of people that think that their job is going to get replaced, overlap there, and it's using
I
it.
think it's going to be, so you see the cog, right, spinning in my head. So I think that like, all right, so we have GPT now, right? So
Yeah.
what will GPT 10 be, right? I think that that yes, it will at some point. I mean, think about even things like a lawyer, right? What do you need to know a lot about very specific things, right?
Yeah.
But if you have all of that information, why, and you have automation built into it, why couldn't you have it file paperwork for you, file motions,
Oh yeah,
right?
100%. No, you can, and
Yeah,
that's gonna happen, and it's gonna basically lead to exactly what we're doing right now. It's gonna help you, you know, um, get through the minutiae kind of work
oh
faster,
yeah,
so you can get
yeah.
more creative.
I use it as a tool though to learn as
Yeah,
well, right? So like, I told you I'm doing the Python classes, right? I've always been big into it, so I was, building some, front end web app with, Flask and but I use it as a tool. Like I work with it, right? And I told you I'm not a developer, but I can build
yeah,
applications between me and GPT. I mean that. So you're right. I think there's a piece now where it augments us, right? I can
yeah,
use it as a tool to augment my work, right? Because I truly believe, at least this, right? If jobs don't go away, there will be people that utilize AI, and then the people that don't. I think the people that don't are going to fall behind very, very
hundred
quickly.
percent, 100%.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Beast talked about one time if you ever get that brain implant, right? Where
Oh, the one that Musk is working
yeah,
on. Yeah.
he's like 100% I will get it. He's like the people who get it first are gonna be so far ahead that
I
that
don't know
that
if I want to be
I don't want to
first.
be first either, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all kind of like on the fence there, and I think we agree on this. But like what he says is true though. The people who are early adapters of these are going to
Yeah.
be so far ahead in life that is going to be like it's crazy not to think about that. And
Yeah.
and
Oh
same
yeah.
thing with GPT, same thing with like AI. You know, the amount of things that we can kind of get rid of that we do already that we know how to do and focus on the creativity, focus on family, focus on whatever
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
The
But
problem that I see is that people are gonna, and they're already doing this. Well, ChatGPT said it or AI said it, so therefore it must be
got to be
true.
careful. Yeah. No.
And the part that I really I'm scared of is when government starts to step in and use this, right? Because whoever trains it or whoever does it is basically the gatekeeper of what data gets out there, right? And we've seen this already, where certain
struggle.
kind of things are excluded or giving you
A
know
bias,
a
yeah,
biased
but yeah, yeah, absolutely.
thing. And it's not to get here or there political, but at the
Right.
same time, it's true. People who don't understand this, who don't understand how the response is generated, are just going to take it as gospel.
Yeah. Well, even if you talk to some of the developers, even there's a portion of this tool that is a black box. They have no idea how it does what it does. There are certain things
Oh
that
yeah,
they don't even themselves understand
like the
about it,
Google
which is
developer
wild.
who was like, this thing
Yes.
ascension is like, I don't know how it got to there, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So, I mean, if you think about it in that context, but it's same like keeping things free and open.
hmm
Just look, it's worked well for our country, right? To keep freedom of speech, right? So don't put these guardrails in place, right?
yeah,
Because you're right, it's going to stifle things and potentially create these biased,
yeah.
um, but that's where things like citations come into play, right? So let's say it gives you, it gives you a response. Well, okay, where'd you get that information from? Like, give me, something that I can go out and research myself,
hmm
right? So I found that stuff like that really, really helpful, which
I
they do.
I like the way that Microsoft has done their bots,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yep.
they basically give you an answer, and then
Hmm.
right underneath it gives you a
Here's where you can go
citation.
fact
Yeah,
check.
where I got that information from,
Yeah.
right?
Fact checking, huge. You have to have some way to go out and validate that
Like
that data.
ChatGPT will do that if you ask it to. Like
Oh yeah.
you'll be like, "Where'd you get this information?" And then it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, here's the documentation."
Yeah. I don't know though. Do you find do you use the Bing one a lot?
The
Like, do you
Bing,
like
no,
it? I think it's useless. I don't know why.
I'm just talking
I
from
despise it.
the Power Virtual agent.
Oh, the Power Virtual. No, 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 no. So it's actually baked into. So if you go to
Yeah, I
Bing.com,
know
right?
that
You
it
have the
does that.
chat option. That's the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
Pretty useless. I don't know. The information it gets is bad, and I'm just
Well, it's
not
trained on
a huge
Bing's
fan.
search engine, so there you go.
Which is that? There you go.
That's your
There you
answer
go.
right there.
Yeah. Although I've been using Bing a lot more, and I don't hate it as much. Like, it's gotten a lot better.
For professionals is great,
Yeah.
but for other stuff, it's just not great.
You're right. If there's like, you're right. If I'm researching a very specific issue, I'm going to go in, use the Boolean searches, which within Google all day, every day. But if it's just very generic things I'm looking for, which most of the time it is, right? I can use that all day, every day. Bing, have no issues. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully they get better about it. But yeah, Google is still. Although I wonder what is going to happen with Google, right? Like, are they going to
hmm
be able to continue to survive? Look, Azure. I mean, I would say at least 75% of the businesses are in either Azure or AWS, right? What happens to Google, especially if their search engine goes away? All
Yeah,
they lose all that data. That's how they're making all their money.
yeah.
What happens to those guys?
I don't think it's gonna go. I think it still has a place. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll
It's
see. I think they pay Apple 10 billion. I read somewhere 10 billion a year to keep Google on iOS. $10 billion
it's chump change.
to them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But if you think about it, that's just a crazy number. But you're right. You need to look at how many people have iPhones, right? So you need to play in that space for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
in the book Think Again that I'm listening to right now is it talks about BlackBerry and how like crazy it was back then, and then how stubborn the guy was about changing
did
that.
you watch the movie based on
What's that?
RIM and how it blew up? And
No, I didn't.
I'm drawing a blank on the name of the movie, but I'll send it to you after this.
Okay.
Insanely good movie. Like, it was so good. Like, if anyone who had to manage a RIM server back in the day, or can totally relate to this movie. But yeah, I mean, all the different struggles that they went to, and how they built the company. But you're right. the guy not wanting to evolve and change is what ultimately ended up
Killed.
destroying the
Yeah,
company. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, the guy talks about this in the book. Um,
yeah.
it is really important, but I think definitely Google has the mindset of changing. So I don't think they're gonna go away.
Yeah. But what products outside of the search engine,
They have the cloud
the SEO
service.
stuff? Yeah. Well, but
They
who's
have.
using it? The workspaces, schools, the education system, I see them using it
Yeah,
heavily,
yeah.
but outside of that, I don't know.
You maybe they'll take a back seat, but I don't think they're going away anytime soon.
Market space is just so small. I just, I, 10 years from now, I think it's going to be a totally different landscape out there.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
but yeah, who knows?
Yeah, no, we'll see, we'll see. But
Yeah,
yeah, this is all the stuff that I love to just dig into, right? Have
yeah.
you used Bard at all?
No, what's that?
No. So Bard is Google's version of GPT.
Okay.
Yeah, totally free. Fire it up. You should play around with it. It definitely it's no GPT, but it's up there. It's useful. I think for different things it can be useful. What I really want to start using GPT for is like data analysis, right? I want to feed it my own data and query it. And one of the things I was working on was again I'm going back to work topics, but like I wanted to know what I did, what the team did for PI 17, right? So I just queried my notes. Hey, what were all the accomplishments from the team for
Yeah.
PI 17? Listed it out, summarized, bulleted it real nice for me. I mean, it can be incredibly powerful. So that's what I'm really leaning into is what can I do with it with my data, right? Because to
Mm.
your point, I don't necessarily trust everything that's out there today. So how can you trust it? When you're using your own data,
Oh
right, and
yeah.
your own notes. So.
No, I did a script for. I mean, again, work stuff, but I did
Yeah.
a script that basically cleans up stuff and pull the PR out, and PR being pull request. I'm trying to get that script to be live, and I send it to the engineering lead, and I said, "Hey, here it is. Go take a look at it. Make sure that everything's good." And he kicked it right back to me and was like, you know, add description on what the script does. You know, and I was like, yeah,
Love it.
you're right. I should add description.
Yeah.
Just
So,
pop that
d
script into GPT and was like, describe what this what the
I was
script.
just going to ask you, did you then feed it
Yeah,
to,
I
to
did because
GPT?
it doesn't contain any data or anything
Right,
that
right.
of ours.
No,
So
of course.
it was like, okay, go, tell me what this does, and it did like this huge thing. I was like, summarize it even more,
Yeah.
like
Make it
and
short and
yeah,
concise.
short
I
and
mean, do you
concise,
think?
and then I popped that into the description. It was like, here you go, done. Like it's like it saves so much time.
Oh
It
my God.
does.
Things like, emails, stuff like
Oh,
that. I love it for stuff like that. But yeah, back to the point, it just augments you. It makes,
it
those
does.
mundane tasks, just knock them
Yeah,
out,
I
right?
was
That
told like
require.
write an offer letter for um the co-op that we're getting, right? The
Right,
intern,
right. There you
right?
go.
I was
Perfect.
like,
Yeah.
I need a letter for blah blah. They just did that, right? Like, or like I'm selling a car for a friend, right? Like, and so that's sitting out there, and I was like, here's the car, and I asked it like, ask me the questions that would make you write a good sales ad,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and it asked me all kinds of questions like, what is maintenance like? How, like blah blah blah. Like it just asked me all kinds of questions. Has it been in an accident? All that stuff, right?
Wow.
And I just fed all the answers to it, and then it wrote like a nice, like
And
sales
and
pitch for that, and
and in
and I put
15
it out
minutes,
there.
yeah, 15 minutes you're
Yeah,
up and running, whereas that would have taken you, at least an hour to put that all together yourself. So I'm actually using it right now to help my mom. So excuse me, she's getting her roof replaced, right?
hmm
So I said, look, you got to get at least three quotes because she was just going to go with the first guy that came out. I
yeah,
was like, look, no, absolutely not. So we've got three different contracts, three different types of shingles, right? So I actually had to go out, do all the research, look through the contracts, and call out things that could be potential issues. it was spot on. I mean, it
Wow.
went through and just ripped the contract apart. So we were able to go through, get, essentially redline this thing, send it back to them and say, look, your workmanship guarantee kind of sucks. Like, you should modify this and fix this, right?
Yeah.
So we landed, with one, right in the middle. But without GPT, that would have taken me hours to do that. So, yeah, I'm finding it just to what we talked about earlier, just augmenting
Yeah.
myself, right? Making things easier.
Oh, I
So,
just thought of something like I somebody messaged me a bottle of whiskey and was like,
okay.
"Hey, is this thing valuable? Like I got this as a gift. Is this thing valuable?" Like that's all they cared about. They don't care about whiskey or
Right.
anything, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I looked it up and it was like, it's like, "Oh, they bought it from Chile and it cost $15." Like I mean, that was a quick Google search, right? Like on
Right.
the actual brand and all this stuff. And somehow word got out in the community that I, you know, somehow I'm interested in whiskey and I have friends
Get,
who collect it and all that stuff, right?
get out.
And I'm like, what? No, right? Like, so now
Ride the
I'm
train.
getting
Say,
messages
yeah. What?
from other people that I know, like I have this 100-year-old bottle of whiskey. How much is it worth? Like, like,
That's
what are
great.
you doing? Like, I don't know. Like,
That is hilarious. And what? So are you big on social media? Because I like try to stay away from it as much as possible.
I
Like
wouldn't say
I
I'm
feel like
big.
it's a poison.
It is a poison. I do spend way too much time scrolling,
Yeah.
but
Have you
I
tracked it at
what do
all?
you
Like
mean?
how much time you actually spend on
I'm
these?
scared to do it.
Do
But
it.
yeah. I probably should, right? I feel like I'm very good with my with the amount of stuff that I need to get done and what I need to get done, and I get it done. But
I'll,
the
but I'll
times
tell
that
you
I
this.
don't, I'm definitely like scrolling.
Go into iOS, into
Yeah, I
settings,
know
turn
the
on the
time.
screen time, and just set aside 15 minutes to just look at it.
Eye
It's eye
opener.
opening.
It is eye
Yeah.
opener.
Yeah.
I've done it before, and, and it was
It's a time
ridiculous.
time suck. Look, I got to the point where I don't do Facebook, I don't do Instagram. The most like YouTube. But even the YouTube Shorts, I don't even open it up. It's just it becomes a time suck for me because
It
like you get that
is.
doom scrolling, right?
It is. It totally is, and I recognize that that is definitely one of the things that I'm like, oh God, but
Yeah. But
I
I mean, you have
can't
a
help it. Like it's like it is an addiction. It's like you
yeah,
close it up, and then all of a sudden you're like opening it up a freaking second later,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then there's those little bubbles of stories that come up that it's like, oh, this person posted a story,
Well,
and I post stories a lot, so I do like that on Instagram because it's like
yeah,
something that's out there and then it
right,
goes away and
right.
then that's it, right? Like and I've done funny videos and stuff like that on
Yeah,
my Instagram, and
right.
everything, and I like that, but yeah, it is a time sucker. I definitely that is a huge one for me that I could improve, but
What about news? What do you?
I
Because
don't
so
consume news at all.
thank you. All right, so
I
I'm not alone.
don't.
And I'll put this out. I feel sad to say this. I had no idea what was going on in
I
Israel
know
and
that,
all that.
but
No, I had no idea until I think Thursday or Friday.
okay,
I'm like,
a
this
week
is bad.
behind.
Like
Yeah.
I need to consume something. I just felt like it was during COVID. It was poisoning my
Oh,
mind
way
at this
before
right.
that, I was like, like I remember years and years ago, like just watching the news and just be like, holy crap, like this is.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm talking about maybe 10, 12 years ago. Like I'm already like no, even more probably, but like yeah, I'm just like
yeah.
everything's bad news. Everything's just like
All
downer.
doom and gloom,
Yeah,
right? Doom and gloom.
I gave up on cable like altogether.
I don't have
Like
cable
I
either.
don't
Yeah,
have cable. Like it's like, and that's it. No more news. No more anything.
good.
And then I would consume news like sporadically, like especially like during like the big Trump era and all this stuff. Like everybody's
Yeah.
like talking about that, and we would have the news playing at the
Oh,
cafeteria at the law firm where I worked,
man.
right? And it would, that's all they played, the news, and so like I'm like, okay, and then I started consuming like different different factors like like NPR, Fox, and then I
Yeah.
started finding like independent ones, and then I was like, okay, I can see a bias there, and researching into that, but it was
All
a
of them
time
are.
sucker too because it's like,
Yeah.
as because I'm not one to just take the information and repeat it,
Right.
like
You want to know it's
I want
real,
to
it's factual.
know, like it's not so much as it factual, it's just the way that I am, right? Like the same thing that
Yeah.
we're talking about, these things like chewing on these things to make your jaw or like the mouth tape. It's like I don't just repeat that. Like it's like, all right, let me try it out. Let me
I'm
see how
doing
it
it.
is. I'm
Yeah.
doing it, right? And same thing with the news. Like I consume it. I'm like, okay, let me look this up on this factor and that factor. Like is that the full clip of the video that they're showing, or are they cutting something out? Like
What are they leaving out?
yeah,
Yeah.
what are the what was the context of this? I can see this being, a thing, like
Yeah.
that's definitely potentially bad, and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
and so on. So, many times my wife would just come to me and be like, "What's the deal with this?" And I would like tell her, but it was just such a time sucker. Like, and then
Hey,
after that, like I gave up on it again. And I'm like, no, no more news for me. I'm done. But the
I'm
whole
the same.
Israel thing, man, that's
So then you just set aside time like once a week to just, let me go take a peek at what's going on, right?
no. It's mostly
No?
it comes on the feed, right? Like on the things
Yeah.
I'm scrolling. So I have friends who are Jewish and all this stuff, and they're posting, and unfortunately, like my father-in-law's friend got killed.
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez, I'm
so
sorry.
he lived in an 80-year-old guy, on a walker. Like they just came
It's
into his
awful.
house and shot him and his wife. Like for what, right? But yeah, like those kind of news come to me, unfortunately, through word of mouth. But yeah, like I hate everything has to be a stance, right? Like, where do
Right.
you stand on this? Where do you stand on that, right? And it's not like that. We're people. We're all different. We all
Bingo.
have like we all have thoughts of what we may think, but it doesn't have to be polarizing, or it doesn't have to be
No,
binary about it, right?
and
And
that's the way I try to approach everything is where if I'm going into a conversation with someone, I expect to learn something new from that person, regardless, right? And I feel like you have to go in because if you just go in real just with blinders on and you're
yeah,
never going to learn new things. I can tell you, my mind's been changed about a million and one different things, right? And you gotta be open to
yeah,
learning new things and
and
potentially
that's
changing your mind,
that's
saying I was
where
wrong.
social media kind of ties this in, because
Yeah,
you start seeing your feed and your algorithm and all that stuff, and they know
yeah.
you like certain things, so therefore they feed you more of that, and it
Oh
it
my
just
God,
becomes
yeah.
a confirmation bias like bubble, right? And it's like,
An
yeah, I
echo
told you,
chamber.
right? Like,
Yeah.
'cause I remember like my brother pulled up a video for me, like we were sharing funny videos, and his
Yeah.
his like ads were like completely the opposite of what my ads were. and,
Yep.
and and it was kind of funny to see that, and I was like, oh, interesting. But going back, like I I I don't know. Anytime I had conversations face to face with people, it's always been productive,
Yep.
even when we disagree.
100%. Yeah.
Even when we disagree, because it's always been a why, and get into things. And
Well,
I
and the other piece is, but why can't you be friends with someone that you disagree with?
exactly,
Why?
exactly.
You know?
And if that's gonna be the killer of like our friendship, quote unquote, right? Like then
Then
it's
thank
not,
you.
then yeah,
Thank you.
whatever.
Yeah.
I don't need that, right? Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
No.
and it has nothing to do. I'm not one to scream out what you know. I don't know. You could probably guess by now. Like, I like guns. I like the countryside. I like like where I stand politically. But like but it has nothing to do with the way that I treat other people, right? I treat people with respect. I expect
Exactly.
respect back, and that's it. It's
That's
the
it.
end of that, right? There's nothing to do where, like, you know, just because I stand here politically, don't assume that I'm gonna have disrespect over a person who, I who
We're
chooses
all
their
humans,
life
right?
differently,
Yeah.
right? And
We're-
and nor I have certain beliefs or reservations over certain topics. I'm very socially, liberal, but
yeah.
financially,
Ditto. Yeah.
conservative, and and all that stuff. And anybody who tells you any different, or like the whole thing of like I had going back. I wanted to make it a point over, you have to stand on one side or the other, right? There's Starbucks came up with like saying, like all, like something about Israel, getting back, like like they stand with Palestine or something like that. And now there's people that's like, well, I'm not gonna go. Great, you do you, right? Like, but you have to understand, it's just a freaking corporate thing that it's like we have to choose a side. And
Don't.
it is you really don't. Nobody gives a f about what you think, and
It's
the
just
fact that
sad.
they do,
Yeah.
it's like those people, you don't need to please them.
Dude, I'll say this. It's 2023. Never, I thought we were beyond all this, right? Never in my mind did I see anything like this where innocent people are just, it's sad. It
It
really
is
is. The
super
whole
sad.
thing.
I mean, there was one where in a clip from British news that is like, well, don't you think the response should be proportionate? And it's like, well, what do you mean by proportionate? Like
Define
the
proportionate,
define
right?
proportion for
Yeah.
proportionate. You have to go to Palestine, find a music festival. Good luck with that, and
Yeah.
then kill the exact amount of women, and kill the exact amount of children, and kill the exact amount of people that you do, and rape the all these women exactly the same amount. Is that proportionate? And
Yeah.
it's like,
Well,
what do you mean by proportionate? Who,
well,
at this point, it's a country that is being, invaded, and where do you stand on that? You stand with like
how
it shouldn't happen.
it shouldn't
Period.
happen. Exactly. Exactly. It's incredibly sad. But what is the right response, right? Because
What is the
you
right
know,
response for what? For Israel?
yeah. What do you do? You know, I don't know. I'm just saying. I could only imagine how. Look, violence begets violence, right? All day, every day. Um, you know, is the right thing to do nothing, because at
No,
the end of the day you don't want other people,
no.
innocent people, to continue to die either. It's sad all around.
I'm. I don't know. I I I consider myself a peaceful guy. I
Yeah,
I I
ditto.
I definitely carry myself in that way and all that stuff. But I also know that if somebody comes into my house trying to hurt my me or my
Then
family,
it's game over.
then
Yeah.
they're getting a shot, like
Yeah.
and or outside or anything, right? It is number one priority is my family and I. Like when I'm out there, it's like, okay, it's myself. So this is the way that I see a hierarchy of protection that everybody should have, right?
Yeah.
One is themselves, right? If you don't keep
Yep.
yourself healthy, if you don't keep yourself, aware and all this stuff, you can't protect yourself. And if you can't protect
100%.
yourself, you can't protect your family. And
Yep.
if you can't protect your family, you can't protect your community. And if you
Right.
can't protect your community, you can't protect your country, and so on, right?
That's a
And
good way
then
to
we
look
can
at it.
start looking at, the world, right? So all these people that are like, like, well, you shouldn't, like basically trying to get themselves, it's like, go protect yourself, go take care. And that goes for
You're saying
everything.
individual responsibility.
It
Everybody should have individual responsibility, and then that bleeds into the community and just makes
it's
us all
not
better as a whole.
it's not the fact that it's like it gets really hairy because it's like, what do you do? as a foreign country looking at this, right? And here's where I'm gonna have a hot take on it because I don't, you know, people are like, oh my God, it's so great that United States stepped up and helped Israel. I'm happy for that because there's a close connection between what I've been to that country. I have family through my wife
Oh,
in
jeez.
that country and all that stuff. So I'm grateful for that. But at the
Hmm.
same time, there's like fires in Hawaii where each family is gonna get $700, right? And you're like,
Jesus.
oh man,
What are
they
you
just
gonna do with
lost everything and seven
seven
hundred
hundred?
dollars, and you're gonna take away their land because it's gonna be a protected land now from now on. Like, come on, like, right? Like that's your country. That's your like that's where I'm like, oh. Same
It's
thing
not
with like
right.
helping
Yeah.
Ukraine, helping and all that stuff. It's like that's great, but at the same time, there's so many things that this country needs, and and and
I,
and
we can't be the policeman of the world for
we
sure. For
can't.
sure.
And I don't know, man. There's way more than just sending money and all that stuff. I know there's politics behind that, but like I'm just like, man, that sucks. Like
Yeah.
that's where I'm like,
But I've been thinking about it for like 3 days now, and I'm like, I still haven't landed one way or the other on what the proper response to something like that is, right? Because all you're going to do, yeah, sure. If you do nothing, okay, then they're going to potentially do it again, right? If you respond, innocent people potentially die. It's so it's almost like what's the lesser of two evils at this point, right? There has to be a better way. There has to be. I never in my life thought 2023. I thought we were beyond all this. Just some of the videos that I've been seeing too. It's awful.
that's
Absolutely awful.
crazy though. Like how today's world,
Yeah.
there's a war in Ukraine and Israel and all that stuff, and you're getting live feed off of that.
Which changes things too, right? It's
You know,
different than back in the day, which you would think would push people to not do things like this, right? Because look at how horrific it is,
like,
right?
but they're not getting that, right? Right? Like, there's, the propaganda that the other side gets is different because it's controlled by the government. You're
Well, I think
not,
probably I think this both sides probably feel slighted in some way, and I think that there's probably real things behind that, right? Now, again, I don't know enough about the geographical region and their politics and stuff like that, but I'm sure that there's definitely a reason behind why they're doing this. But how can you work it out in such a way where it's beneficial for both sides? I see that's the only way forward. That's the only way forward. I can't imagine because if you respond with violence, it's just more violence is gonna
yeah,
come. It's just gonna be ongoing, never ending.
yeah,
But you have to do something, right? So what is the something? And look, it's probably a few people, right? I'm sure not everyone feels the same way as these guys that went in and did what they did, right? Everybody in that country can't feel that way, right? So they're essentially they get pulled into something that they don't want nothing to do with, right? It's just
yeah.
sad.
It is that.
Kids, that's crazy to me. That's crazy.
That's a line that you don't cross, man.
You
That's
don't cross.
I
Bunch
don't
of
know.
kids at a music festival, pointless. Pointless. I saw one video, one news report, because I started looking into it, where one of the girls at the music festival, that got you know murdered. They actually posted it on her Facebook page,
Perfect.
and her family had to see that. Like the level of horror
Yeah, I
and
don't I
just
don't go looking for this stuff. I mean,
no.
I see it happening and I see it in feeds and all that stuff, but like it really is like
It was on a
I
podcast that I was listening to with because I was trying to get caught up, and I'm just like, you're right. I had to turn it off. I'm like, this is horrific. Like, I don't
it
even want
is,
to.
man. I when the Ukraine war started, I mean, like same thing, right? Like I just had to like turn it off because I have friends who were like
Yeah,
I called them up and just like, hey man, like I know you have
Everything
your
all
mom
right?
there. I
Yeah.
know you have, and one of my friends was just like, I'm going, and he professional guy, right? Like
That's what I'm
works,
saying. One day they're
like
in suits at work, the next day they're out on a
no,
battlefield. That's
they're,
crazy.
I'm like, I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, no, I'm gonna go. And he went. He crossed the border from Poland and went, got his mom and his sister who are like, you know, non-mobile, and got them out and
Jeez.
into,
Thank God.
I mean, it's great that he did. I mean, that's the balls on that guy. I mean, thank
Yeah.
God. But I don't know if I. It's
It's a tough
crazy.
one.
It's crazy. I guess like it is what it is.
Although I'll say
But I
this.
have to turn off those kind of news. I'm like,
No, no,
I can't deal. I can't do. There's nothing I can do, and it's not even like, I'm sorry. I know what you're going through. No, I don't know what you're going
can't
through.
even
I
imagine that.
can't even imagine. But just know that if you need any, whether that's like, hey man,
Yeah.
I need to go to the store and I can't. Like I'm there for you. Like that's all I
Whatever
want to
you
say.
need.
Whatever you need, right? Like it. It just sucks, man.
Well,
There's
that's what.
nothing you can do.
No, and you're right, and it's good that you say that because not a lot of people do that. And I always follow it up with people. I'm like, look, I don't understand what you're going through, but if there's anything I can do to help, don't hesitate to reach out. And I truly mean that. Like whatever
I
you need,
truly
you
mean
just
that
need.
too, man.
Yeah,
That's like,
and I said you are never bothering me. Like that is, and that goes back to your original point of community, right? And
yeah,
having people.
that's,
That's we are a community. We got to help each other out. You know.
dude, this guy, I mean, like, such a nice guy.
Yeah.
But I have some funny stories too from him. Like, we worked together, very stern from Ukraine, right? Like, so he has that, always, you know, not angry, but always just kind of like, if it's
Stern
not
face. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it's not funny, he's not laughing, right? Like, and that's just like the whole culture,
Right.
thing, right? And my wife, I used to joke around with her, and she's like, why don't people like, I'm not approachable? I'm like, well, back then you're
Yeah.
sitting there with a cigarette in your mouth and just like, like with very like,
Yeah.
it's like nobody's gonna approach you, like I'm the crazy one that approached you and wanted to date you, but like.
It's a
Same thing.
culture thing,
It's a
right?
culture thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, and then so I just went up to him and I was like, "Hey, man, when we're gonna go to dinner, right? Like, and or when we're gonna go out to lunch, right?" I said, and he's like, "Yeah, sure, right?" Like, but he was totally shocked that somebody would just come up and say that.
Yeah.
And but like the funniest thing that he said one time, he just asked me, "Do you smoke?" I said, "No," and he's like, "Yeah." I stopped smoking when I got to the fifth grade because I started doing sports, and I'm like,
Get
that is
out.
the most Soviet thing
Oh
I've
my
ever heard.
God.
Every time I bring it up, like and all the stuff with friends and stuff like that, he's like, I don't understand why he's laughing. It's the truth.
Oh, that is great.
It's
Wow.
so funny though. Right? Like I'm like fifth grade, really?
Fifth
Stop.
grade. Wow. It's almost unbelievable,
Yeah.
right?
It's like, it's the
Fifth
truth. We
grade.
used to go find on the streets people who throw cigarettes and just pick it up and smoke. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh my
Wow.
God, man. But
Jeez.
yeah, like that's crazy, man. I hate to end this on a bad note, so
No, no, no. Let's not end it on a bad
okay,
note. So
let's
I
keep
want
going
to I
then.
want to
Let's
put it out there.
Okay,
Please, like, how can people go and submit some ideas on
let's
how
do
we?
this.
And I would look if we get a good one that fits within that criteria that I mentioned earlier. Happy to post a video along with it so that
That's
they can
good.
see it come to
Let's do
fruition,
it, man.
right? So I let people know where can they put that? How do they get in contact? Because I don't have any social media.
So yeah, just either Twitter or Instagram, hashtag Team Piero, Team Roger, who you want to
Love it.
support, and what are your ideas for, uh, and then
Good
hashtag Toro
ideas.
podcast if you
Yeah,
want, right? Like there you go, man. Let's
love
get
it.
that because we got a good one on Roger the other day. We
We sure did.
basically in the office they replaced all the access point and there was like stacks of boxes and I don't know who did it, but like somebody put it on his
He's got a
desk.
lot of boxes on his desk
He
right now that
does.
he's gonna
He
have to
does.
move.
I don't think he can. see his monitor anymore.
Yeah, it's
And
gonna be a
I
good
don't
day
know.
for him.
I heard he did the same to other people, and
Could be anybody
maybe
at this
those people,
point.
he's gaining enemies.
You reap what you sow, right?
Yeah,
So
and he says I'm Team Roger, but I'm neutral here. I'm Switzerland, baby. Yeah.
my ultimate goal will be to build the team Piero to a point where it's so formidable that he just has to give in, you know. So I'll get there. And like I said, I've got a laundry list of stuff. So I'm ready. I'm ready.
Awesome, man.
All right, Jose, it's been great chopping it up with you, man. Always
Dude,
enjoy it.
it's been amazing.
Yep,
You're
ditto.
always welcome here. All right.
Love
Take
it.
care, man.
Yep.
Bye.
Take care. Talk soon. Bye.